Boom goes the dynamite. It's a FAFO Friday here on the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun Yurtkuran on 103.9 FM WYAB. I told you, man, we like to go heavy on our restaurants on Fridays so you guys will get out, wine, dine, enjoy yourselves, get some entertainment. We've talked about Burgers, Blues, Barbecue. We've talked about Martin's downtown. Now let's talk about Acme Pizza and Daiquiris, one of our longest running sponsors here on the Clay Edwards Show. And I don't even know if I'm supposed to announce this or not, but I'm going to do it anyway. As far as I know, unless anything's changed, Chip Matthews, Acme Pizza's very own Chip Matthews, will be starting this Monday hosting a weekly radio show here on WYAB right after this show, in the 9 a.m. hour, 9 to 10 every Monday. Chip Matthews with Acme Pizza and Daiquiris will have a show here on WYAB, and he ain't talking about pizza. You know, Chip is heavily involved in politics and running in elections, and like running for office is Chip's hobby.
Yeah.
And, you know, man, we need people like that.
Hey, you know, concerned citizens.
It is, man, because it holds people accountable.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he ain't going away. And you know what I hate? And y'all get out to Acme Pizza and eat this weekend.
Yep.
What I hate is, and it's great pizza, just got a review from a listener last night that said he went and said food was great, service was great, drinks were great. Wanted to remain anonymous, so that's fine. Located at Phantom Mart on the Reservoir, 4 p.m. to midnight, and the daiquiris are available to go. Shaun, can you beat it? Would you like to have a drive-through daiquiri place in Fondren or Belhaven?
That would be actually. I don't know if that's a good idea for me. You know, because the way I go when I go to New Orleans, I stop in Hammond all the time, and it just by the time I get to the French Quarter, it's not pretty.
There's a friend of ours that likes to go down there and get king cakes. He'll remain nameless.
We know who he is.
He every time he goes down there, he on the way back, he stops and grabs a drive-through daiquiri.
Does he? Okay.
And he's like, I have it paced out where I can get home safely. And I was like, you do that, big dog.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm safely doing it when I do it for the Louisiana Highway Patrol, you know.
Back to the politics stuff here. You know, one of the things I hate so much, and it's easy for me to say I've never done it, but you see these folks, man, they get fired up, son, to run these elections, whether it's a board of supervisor, alderman, people that want to run for one of the congressional seats, even these people that want to run for Roger Wicker's seat, whatever, they lose, and you never hear from them again. You never see them at another grip and grin. You never see them at another, and I'm just going to use our events here in central Mississippi, you never see them at another Rankin County breakfast. You never see them at another political function. They lose, they're sour about it, they didn't get what they wanted, and that's it. They go back into their world. Well, man, you just made a name for yourself. I heard Chris Hinkle called into Kim Wade's show the other day talking about Gannon Burton, the guy that was running the Top Gun pilot.
Against Wicker, yeah.
Was running against Wicker. And Chris made a great point. And, I mean, I really, really enjoyed Chris's phone call and his take on this. He said, look, man, now that he's got his name out there, and he said he kind of got into it late, and you didn't start really finding out about him till late. Now you got maybe you don't go for that seat again, but maybe you could run for one of the congressional seats.
Sure.
Now you got a 2-year run,
or state house or whatever.
Or even if you wanted in 6 years, whatever, run for the Wicker seat again or whatever. Now you got some runway.
Because that guy had whether I don't remember what his policy positions were, whether you agree with him or not, the guy had a great resume. I mean, he's the kind of person that, is qualified to do it. And I think there's a lot of people like that out there. I think it's your point, right? There's a lot of people, citizens that have, been former military, business owners, those kinds of people that they don't want to get involved because it's nasty. I mean, it's really nasty, the whole business of it. But there's some really, good people out there that would do great at it, but nobody just wants to do it. So it's when somebody does, I think we should all be thankful for that.
Yeah, but what I want to see is them stick around after. And, if you have the ability and the time schedule allows, run it. Because now what Gannon Burton could do, if I remember what Chris said right, is now that he's got his name out there, now you go to every little function you can.
Yeah.
Every speaking engagement you can. And you keep your name out there, and you've got a nice little runway to do it where you're not running and asking everybody for a vote, but you can go and sell who you are. Mm-hmm. And then you've built this groundswell of notoriety and support.
Yeah.
So then when you come back around, it's like, oh, I know who Gannon Burton is. And I'm just using him as my example here. I'm not picking on Gannon or anything like that. I never got a chance to meet the fella, but everything I heard was great about him. I know Jameson spoke very, very highly of him. So I would like to, and that's what Chip does. I guess I'm saying all that to say this about Chip Matthews. Is Chip don't go away.
Yeah.
He stays and he fights.
Well, he's going to be fighting on Monday mornings, right?
He's fighting on Monday mornings. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait to hear him this Monday.
Me too. Shaun, I ordered my Trump Bible last night.
Did you now?
I paid extra for a little shipping.
Did it come with a certificate of authenticity?
I sure hope. For $75 after shipping, it better.
Okay.
I think you think I should do one of these unboxing things like on my live feed.
I like it. I think that's a good idea.
Maybe I'll tag Russ Latino and Marshall Ramsey.
Yeah, they've had quite the spat on Twitter. Well, more Russ. Russ was upset about the Trump Bible, and then the Marshall Ramsey cartoon has kind of caught fire about the Last Supper. You know.
What are your thoughts on the Marshall Ramsey cartoon? I know that people are taking their opportunity to take their shots at Marshall, and that's life in the big city. But what do you think about it?
I mean, Marshall's a political cartoonist. That's part of the job. Like, you make fun of things, and I have no problem with it. No.
Rewind. Let's reset. Tell people about the cartoon.
The cartoon, I think it's and I didn't even see it. I think Russ had retweeted, and so did Tate Reeves' Twitter account, whoever runs that. You know, it's a Last Supper, and they're and they're saying something about, you know, there's no.
It's about the Medicaid.
It's about Medicaid expansion. There's something about, you know, the work requirement or something to that effect. I can't really, you know, making a joke that, like, basically that they're not Christian enough, I guess, or something like that. If they want the work requirement, I can't actually remember.
Yeah, that's what it boiled down to. That if
something like that.
If you had required the work requirement, you wouldn't be able to eat at the Last Supper, basically. Yeah,
something like that. Just, you know, a joke about it, and I think, you know, it caught some people's hairs on fire. Just kind of the way the Trump Bible did too. I think it boils down to just people now arguing, you know, about whether, you know, religion should be joking in politics and that kind of thing. You know.
I'm going to say this. Now, I ordered the Trump Bible because, I think it's kind of funny, it's going to be a collector's item, just like the shoes. And I mean, look, can you have too many Bibles? I mean, so it's not a bad thing either. And I think a lot of these, like, these Christian bookstores are just grifts.
Yeah, me too. Right.
Like, I can order a Bible on Amazon. Who would I rather give my money to? Amazon or Trump and Lee Greenwood? I'm going to go with Trump and Lee Greenwood instead of the evil that is Amazon.
I mean,
or Walmart. I can go buy a Bible at Walmart. Where would you rather buy your Bible from? Trump or Walmart?
Yeah, I mean, Clay, I think it just, the way I kind of thought about it, nothing really offends me anymore. The fact that Donald Trump is out there slinging a Bible, I mean, it's not like I didn't expect him to try to do that. I mean, he's a salesman. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, he was selling sneakers.
Yeah.
You know, that's okay, whatever. You want to sell the Bible, that's cool. I don't care. And whether Marshall Ramsey wants to make fun of Medicaid, he's a political cartoonist. You know, everybody get over it. He's going to make jokes about a lot of things.
Now, we did just get, I love our listeners because they think about things that I don't. Brad on the Guns and Gear text line says, when is he going to publish his Muhammad cartoon?
His Muhammad cartoon?
Yeah.
I mean, if he did one, I'd have the same response. Like, I wouldn't care. I mean, but apparently if you do that, you might, some cartoonists have gotten in some trouble for that one.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, what was the guy? Is it Salman Rushdie? Or he didn't do the cartoon. No, he's.
I'd be lying if I said I remembered the name, but they blowed him up, didn't they?
Well, Rushdie got stabbed at something not long ago, but I don't think he was a cartoonist. There's another guy, I can't remember his name, that was a cartoonist. He got, like, killed or something over making fun of Muhammad. Yeah, apparently you're not supposed to ever show an image of Muhammad. Something like that. I don't know. So I mean, those guys were way worse than Tate tweeting, that he didn't like Marshall's cartoon. But I mean, in the same vein, though, I mean, look, they're cartoonists, whether they're making fun of Muhammad or the Last Supper. I mean, that's just what they do. I don't want to encourage Christians to do anything ridiculous, by no means. But maybe people wouldn't draw pictures of Jesus and the Last Supper in cartoon ways if Christians didn't lay down and constantly take it like we have. Now, again, I am not saying go hurt anybody or do anything. I'm just making a point that Christianity has become this punching bag,
and it's the only religion that it's okay to make jokes about over the last few years. No, it is that because we've allowed it to become that.
And I don't think he was making a joke about Marshall's cartoon. Wasn't making fun of Christianity. I don't think that was I don't think he was doing that. I think he was saying. I think he was trying to say that it wasn't Christ-like to not, be for Medicaid expansion. I don't think he was making fun of Christianity. That's not why I took it, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I got it. It didn't offend my sensibilities. Would I have done it? No, but I do offensive things too. So I'm not going to sit here and say. I tell you what offended me more than that was that Super Bowl commercial with Jesus washing all those people's feet.
See, I missed that one. I heard about it, but I missed it.
Yeah.
But that brings us to that point. I'm glad you brought that up. Whether it's a cartoon or Trump selling a Bible or a Super Bowl commercial, people have decided that they're going to use religion in context to market stuff. It seems like whether that's wrong or right, that's up to everybody individual. But how many businesses do you know talk about God and they're trying to sell something? I mean, this is kind of something people do. It's not just in these specific contexts.
It's the Christianity industrial complex.
Yeah, I mean that's something we see every day that people do that. I know we're single out Marshall's cartoon and the Trump Bible, but this is anything new. I mean, it's something that we see constantly run into. I didn't even remember the Super Bowl commercial. There you go. I mean,
and so conservatives got really upset about the Super Bowl commercial. Because I think it was a trans person and a black person. It was. Jesus washing everybody's feet but a straight white male.
Okay, I gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Saying that Jesus would love all these people. Y'all are all going to hell if you don't.
Oh.
And I don't know why we put black people in there. We love black people. This was clearly a trans thing, and they're constantly trying to blend black and gay struggle together when they're just two different things.
Completely different, right.
And, but they constantly want to say that not loving and supporting trans people is the same as not loving and supporting black people.
Which doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
To me, I think that's just the most racist and outrageous nonsense in the world. I remember, I'm old enough being a Gen Xer growing up. Anytime somebody gay would tell black people, I understand your struggle, I'm gay, they're like, you don't understand my struggle. I was born this way. You chose to be that way.
Yeah.
That was a big rift between the two, and somewhere that gap has closed, at least publicly.
Yeah, no, that's true, absolutely. But I mean, I agree with you. I don't know how those everybody's oppression, or whatever you want to call it. I hate using that word these days because it's been changed so much. Is different. It's not the same. You can't just link arms and sing Kumbaya or whatever. So
to my point about the Jesus washing the feet commercial, that offended conservatives, and Democrats praised that. Clearly, it's a political ad.
I gotcha. Okay.
And now Trump selling a Bible, and all the Democrat Christians
are mad about that.
Their hair is on fire about it. I mean, I sent you that CNN article last night. I had to quit reading it. It was War and Peace.
I know. I read it. I was laughing about because
one of the guys are from Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, that's right. It was in there.
One of the preachers or whatever.
But everybody does this. This is and then they get mad at the other side for doing it. Like, I mean, how many ads have you heard a Republican talk about, like, I love Jesus 27% more than my opponent? Like, all of them? Like, all those ads, they do that. Like, everybody is I'm not saying it's good or I approve of people doing this, but it's just everybody does it. And then they get mad when the other side does it. I'm like, well, you just did it. So, I mean, I don't know. It just, it's maybe everybody should make an agreement. We'll stop using religion to sell stuff, or.
Mansplain sent a great text here on the Guns and Gear text line. Says the lesson that Jesus was teaching was servant leadership. He only washed the feet of his disciples, not hookers, etc.
Okay.
And that's what they were trying to spin that.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, get outraged about politicizing Christ there if you're going to get outraged about Trump selling Bibles. I mean,
sure.
Equal outrage. That's always been one of my big things on the show. And it's something I try to hold myself accountable to, and it ain't easy. I want equal outrage. I've asked it of the black community to be equally as outraged at black-on-black crime as you are when somebody white does something to somebody black, or if somebody black does something to somebody white. I want equal outrage.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that. I didn't even remember that Super Bowl commercial, but that's a really good comparison to talking about Trump and the Bible. It's like, okay, there you got conservatives mad about that commercial and liberals mad about the Trump Bible. I mean, okay, everybody should be, if it's the same thing, everybody should be mad about both of them. Exactly. If you want to be mad, I don't care about either one of them. I'm just saying that if you do, then,
I've learned to not let any outside stuff like that get me mad.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
Like I know my relationship with the Lord. Anybody else that has a problem with theirs or somebody, like, it's not a fight you're going to win. Let's take a break.
Yep.
We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Guys, you got a DIY project you're doing this weekend around the house? Get over to Reliable Rental Equipment. I may have let the cat out of the bag a little too soon a couple days ago, but I can tell y'all now it's official. My good friend, you heard him call in earlier. He's a loyal listener of the show and a 20-plus year friend of mine, Teddy McRaney, is now the I believe his job title is director of sales. He's now over there. Teddy's been in the car business for the last 6-7 years. He knows how to sell. He was in the roofing business. He understands contractors' needs. If you got any equipment rental needs, get in touch with Teddy McRaney now at Reliable Rental Equipment. A guy. It's such a cool deal, man. Shaun, one of my big things is supporting local businesses, locally owned businesses. Steven, that owns Reliable Rental Equipment, locally owned, local guy from Jackson. I think he went to Callaway. Teddy, I think, went to Murrah.
All right.
These are Jackson guys.
High School guys.
Yeah, these are Jackson guys, man. Over here.
The business is on Meadowbrook, right?
Yeah, the business is in Jackson, locally owned. I know I talk my smack about Jackson, but when there is something good to talk about, I will knock somebody down to be the first person in line to do it.
And, I always see their trucks kind of by my office with their logos. I guess they're close to me, so right over there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so look, man, whether you need a lift, you need to rent a trailer, you need a bulldozer, a backhoe, a track hoe, they got it all there. Golf carts, side-by-sides, zero-turn mowers. Go rent a weed eater if you need to rent a weed eater for the day. You can buy them, too. They sell all this stuff as well. They're the official dealer of air tow trailers. That's the trailers where they drop straight onto the ground and you can drive a scissor lift or anything you need to up on it and then lift it back up without having to have a ramp. Very, very handy for moving big toolboxes, lifts, anything like that that's really low to the ground. Check them out today. The website address has been tweaked. It's now just reliablerentalequipment.com. No MS anymore. reliablerentalequipment.com. They're located right there at Meadowbrook Road in, what do you call that? Is that North Jackson? Is that Fondren? Corner of Meadowbrook and North State?
Yeah, it's a like North Fondren.
North Fondren, okay.
I'm just, top of Fondren.
Well, the nicer that area becomes, the more it becomes Fondren, right? As it redevelops.
That's what happens.
This is now Fondren.
It's now Fondren. Yeah, I guess because, if you go over Meadowbrook, there's those neighborhoods kind of behind Banner Hall and things, and I don't think that's called Fondren. I always call it Fondren, but I don't think it's called that.
What's the name of that big tall the big condo building? The Winworth or Willworth or I don't know, probably getting it completely wrong.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yes.
I've always wanted to live there.
Yeah. I remember it's they're older now too, but I know exactly now I can't remember the name either. Yeah, I know exactly when you're talking about that.
Yeah, man, I always thought it'd be cool to live there.
Me too. I've known some people that have, and it's pretty neat. I heard they're really dated though now because it was built so long ago.
Well, you own yours, I think, so you can remodel it as you want. So, all right, let's go to the Guns and Gear text line. Bobcat says, Obama to abortionist. Thank you. Planned Parenthood, God bless you. By Ken Black. Oh, this is an op-ed. I'm sorry. Jerry says, LOL, Democrat Christian. LOL. That's funny right there.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's this question to be asked. Can Democrats be Christians? And hear me out on this. If you support abortion, how can you be and you support LGBTQ, how can you be a Christian?
Can you say it like, so you're talking about like abortion, like thou shalt not kill, and then against homosexuality? I mean, I'd counter it with this. Can you be a Christian if you're like a Republican adulteress, or something like that, a Republican that steals? I mean, doesn't it say all sins are supposed to be the same? Is there a difference?
Or pro-death penalty?
Yeah, pro-death penalty, yeah.
I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I am a pro-death penalty. And I consider myself a Christian.
Yeah, I mean, I just think you can expand that into a lot of different things.
But isn't there an eye for an eye thing?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I'm not the biblical scholar here.
Me
yeah.
either. I'm sure somebody could pick apart every angle of this.
Yeah.
That's the great thing about the word too, right? Mm-hmm. Is you can take from it. Some people will argue that that's not the great thing about it, but to me, you can take from it and spin it into what you want. And one side is 100% sure that they're doing it right and reading it the way it's supposed to be.
Sure. And
the other side says the other thing. And I'm just glad everybody calls themselves Christians.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, man, as long as you love Jesus and try to do the right thing, that's it. But I mean, when we go into, we were talking about this at the break, like sins, right? We brought up homosexuality. I mean, as far as I know, again, not a biblical scholar, aren't all sins supposed to be treated the same? Even though as humans, I know we look at them different, like murder is worse than stealing and those kinds of things. But
well, let's compare these two. And this is where I am very careful. You will hear me on the show. I tell you all the time. Unlike a lot of conservatives, I have no dog in the gay race, as long as that is just something in the gay race. Yeah. Well, I don't mean like it's a race. I mean like the gay Olympics or whatever. I don't care. Be as gay as you want to be. Just act normal. Mm-hmm. Just have your gay mate, and that's what you do. It's in your bedroom. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you get married. You know, I can only speak for Clay Edwards. But when Christians tell me that, oh, well, they're going to hell, and I don't argue this, you know, like, well, that's going to be a tough conversation you have to have with God up there about the way you lived your life down here. But going back to what Shaun said about every sin being equal, well, we're going to have a very tough conversation about premarital sex.
Yeah, and there you go. That's a great point. I mean, we don't see the outrage about those other sins that you see about homosexuality or abortion. But if they're all supposed to be equal, then why isn't someone saying, you know, my neighbor's cheating on his wife? That's a big deal because that's, you know, sin. But you don't hear that as much. Or someone's having premarital sex or whatever. And I wonder why that is. Why are those particular sins kind of picked out when there's all these other ones that you could have the outrage for too, but they don't.
Well, I mean, just look at the 7 deadly sins. I mean, gluttony is one of them.
Gluttony, there you go, yeah.
So, I mean,
sloth.
I mean, are you going to hell because you can't push the plate away?
I don't know. I mean, is it? Maybe you are. There's some people now shaking. You're like, oh no.
Well, here's a question I've always had, and we say, you know, we Christians, we welcome everybody with open arms as long as you're ready to redeem, right? Mm-hmm. And God forgives all sins, right?
Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest here, and just using some common sense. I have a hard time necessarily believing that, in the sense of, if I lived my life right and I haven't sinned throughout my life, and this guy's killed 3 people, but just because he asked for forgiveness, we can get to the same place.
Yeah. I know I've always had a hard time with that. Like the guy that's the serial killer. And
he found Jesus on death row.
Yeah, I know. I thought about that too, I guess. But I mean, I guess because that's what I was saying, because that's what, as humans, we look at it that way. We're like, murder is worse than stealing.
Yeah.
And that's why, and the law treats it differently too. The law treats murder much more harshly than it does theft. But biblically, it's the same. Just like, you know, you're just talking about the 7 deadly sins. What about pride or greed? You know, envy. I mean, we got tons of envy going on. Like almost everybody's guilty of that one.
I mean, social media has ramped up all these.
Yeah, lust. I mean, all these things but we've picked out homosexuality, you know, or, you know, abortion as to be the primary focus, and these other things that you would think are equally important, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I mean, going by what everybody says, and I'm not trying to argue here at all. I mean, I think this is a really important conversation to have. I would like to hear you all's thoughts. The Mazda Jackson phone line, 601-879-0002. The Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. And as I figured, somebody was waiting on standby. Jerry, stay on hold. We're going to take our break real quick. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Hey, guys, have you got any foundation problems going on around the crib? Hit up Foremost Foundations and Construction. For foundations, Foremost uses innovative polyfoam technology that, with great precision, can correct and restore sinking concrete quickly. They provide solutions for the long term that can improve the ability of the actual soil to support the foundation and concrete slabs. Thanks to their specially designed rigs, they can drill and lift without any need for heavy excavation. The team has decades worth of experience. They've tried all the old tricks. They know what works and what doesn't because they've weeded out the ones that don't. They're experts in foundation repair, polyfoam, drainage, seawalls, retaining walls, and more. ForemostConstructions.com. That's Foremost Constructions with an S.com. Man, after going to Shaun's neighborhood over the last weekend and seeing all the streets and some of the sidewalks, like the stairways going up to people's houses and stuff.
Yeah.
And you got it everywhere, but it's so hilly in Belhaven. You see it more there. Some of that polyfoam technology would work very, very good all throughout Belhaven and Fondren there.
Oh, yeah.
So check them out, foremostfoundations.com. Shaun, we have stepped on a old-fashioned hornet's nest here. Guys, call back 601-879-0002 is the Mazda of Jackson phone line. Other Jerry, please call back. I would love to hear what you have to say on this. Anybody else that wants to call, I want to hear from you. Let's read a couple texts here.
Sure. On
the Guns and Gear text line, we got Reagankin. And I knew we were going to somewhat step on a hornet's nest with this,
sure.
But Reagankin says, all sins are not the same. It will be better for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment. It will be better than it will be for that city. Hold on, let me start over here. All sins are not the same. It will be better for Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than it will be for that city. I don't know if I understand that. Homosexuality attacks God's construction of the family. Abortion kills potential. You can't be or do anything if you have been aborted. Another big one with God. And lastly here it says, what do you do with Jesus when Jesus makes you eternally saved? What do you do after will determine your level of earthly peace, godly discipline, level of confusion, number of days in the doghouse, etc. I don't know if I understand that last one there, man. Keith says, quoting from the Bible, he says, and the Bible for me is kind of hard to read.
Okay.
I mean, some of just the way it words.
Yeah.
It's like reading law sometimes, like summons and stuff like that. Legal. I'm using the word jargon for a lack of a better word. Keith says the murderer on death row can absolutely be forgiven for his sins. The thing is, he has to be sincere. He can lie to other humans and say he's sorry, but it don't work that way with God. God knows our hearts. You can't just say sorry and continue with the same behavior.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Hinkle texted in, the thief on the cross is in heaven today. So I think about it that way, too.
Yeah, I mean, but I still just, like, as a human, I can't help but question some things.
Mm-hmm.
I still find it harder to wrap my head around, and I'm not saying I'm right by no means here, that, again, the mass shooter, Luke Woodham, can get into the same heaven in the same area that Mother Teresa, does, or anybody else that, we look at like they have no sin. Mm-hmm. And I mean, is there a VIP section up there, for people who didn't kill anybody while they were down here?
No, it's a hard, I think, as humans, it's a hard concept to grasp. That's why, I guess we're constantly taught that everybody's, capable of being forgiven. So
yeah, and I just accept that. I mean, it ain't like I stay up late at night tossing and turning, wonder, if I'm going to be in heaven next to a mass shooter that also got in there too. I mean, because I don't want to I don't want to do any of those things. That's not in my heart.
Yeah,
and if Jesus let him in, I trust Jesus. But it's still just it creates this question,
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, that's the, the whole thing, or even the whole sins are equal thing, it's hard for us to grasp, I think, as human beings, because, again, like I said, the law treats it differently. Even in the Bible, it treated actually things differently, the punishments of certain offenses. So but then you couple that with the concept of sins being equal. It's hard to grasp. I understand that. So.
Yeah, so pulling it back to our original, before we get too deep into that, I'm by no means a biblical scholar.
Me either. This is I'm an expert on murder, but not Bible.
I know sin pretty well.
Yeah,
but I know what sin when I see it. What started this conversation?
Oh, we were talking about Marshall Ramsey's cartoon and Trump's Bibles.
Yes, I was going somewhere else with that and completely had a brain fart there.
We got off track into this.
Oh, the homosexuality stuff. We got a text here on it. And I'm going to read this, and I'll tell you that we'll circle back. It said, I think the reason homosexuality is focused more than any other sin is because no one is trying to make me believe those other sins are okay. That is a great definition. That is a great response there. They are trying to tell you that this one's okay.
Right. And that's factual, I think. I mean, are there any other sins that that's a good question. Is there any other sins that pride seems to be something we teach as a good thing? That's a sin, right? We certainly think that nowadays, heck, they're trying to teach you that gluttony is a good thing. I mean, we've seen that everywhere.
Body positivity.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one that they try to teach us. It's a really good one.
But the church doesn't really teach that one. You have certain segments of the church now, the Catholic Church in particular, and a lot of these new Baptist churches. I won't point any out in particular, where it's welcomed in there, and they have rainbow flags hanging in there. I mean, didn't you tell me you went to a church one time and you got up and left, or you never went back because of the same thing?
Well, yeah, I've had experiences on both ends where, politics were brought in on the conservative spectrum and the liberal one, and I was like, this is not the place for politics for me when I go to church. So I've had that experience on both sides of the political spectrum that I did not enjoy. I think greed is pushed in our society. I think greed is good, like that kind of thing. I mean, there's a lot of sins I think that are normalized, that we normalize as positive things. Like I said, pride, greed, gluttony. So I don't know if it's just homosexuality. I think there's other ones too.
Lust.
Yeah, is lust pushed as a bad thing these days? I don't think so.
No, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying, but it's definitely pushed out there constantly. I really like that answer.
No, it's a good answer. It's a good question too, to the point. But because it makes you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, what are the other sins that we're pushing? And there are other ones that we do or that we've accepted as a society that we think are okay. So.
Well, it's one thing to talk about as a society, but I think what I take from that is now you have segments of the church that are saying it's okay. Mm-hmm. Because let's be honest, with this new generation here. Here's the thing that people don't like to talk about. Christianity ain't a business. The church is a business.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't care if it's a 501c3, whatever. The church is a business. And churches got to look at growth. And with this new generation Z, what is the percentage that are some type of alphabet?
I think it's something like
30%.
30%, yeah, something like that.
So if you got 30% of an entire generation of people who claim to be some type of LGBTQ LMNOP, well, you ain't going to see a whole lot of growth.
I get your point. You got to market to them, right?
Yeah,
you got to sell it.
It's like and I am not saying this is right. I'm just making a black and white point here that if you're looking for growth potential, new customers, so to say, if you treat it like a business, new members,
yeah,
you got to. I'm saying you got it, but some churches have decided that they got to pat them on the back and say it's welcome here. God loves everybody.
That's a great point. I mean, even taking that even the gay context, they started this with other things like the faith band, right? They made, it looks like sometimes some churches like Jesus over at Budokan. They've turned it to, that was a way to market to younger people in terms of that. So I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's what they did try to make it like church is cool kind of thing. Yeah. Because they got to stay in business. I mean,
LED
I get it.
lights everywhere. It's big light. It's like I went straight from the nightclub to the church club.
Yeah. That's the way when we were younger, it wasn't that way. But that kind of evolved, I think, over the last 20 years where you see that in a lot of churches. But I mean, I get it. They're operating an actual business and they've got to stay in business. So, I think there are some churches you bring out that they marketed, like LGBT, but I think some are marketing to greed as well. Like, let's take Joel Osteen, right? I mean, every sermon is about how you're going to be rich, essentially. And then, of course, we've seen his problems. What do they find? Like $300,000 in a bathroom wall in his church. I was like, I don't know how that got there. It was like encased in a bathroom wall. I was like, I mean, so that's certainly marketing towards greed, I think.
The prosperity preaching stuff.
Yeah, the prosperity gospel folks, yeah. So.
But, and look, and this is somewhere else I get sideways with people. I don't have a problem with that. Like, but I don't look at that. I don't look at prosperity preaching as, that's not I'm not getting my Jesus word from that. I mean, if he weaves in some messaging to teach their own. But like if I watch Joel Osteen, I'm watching because it's kind of inspirational, motivational. Like why not me?
It's like Tony Robbins. I mean, it's very similar to that. But how many Americans do you think watch him as their church? A lot, quite a bit.
Absolutely. So I understand people's grievances with it. I understand it's not mine per se, but just me personally, I don't turn to Joel Osteen from my word.
No, I mean, I don't either. I mean, I take it for what it is. Yeah. Sometimes it's fun to watch because you do feel better. You're like, man, I'm going to be wealthy. Everything's going to work out great.
I'm going to get that promotion this week.
Yeah, every time I watch it, it's just very inspirational. But I take it for that. But I think there's many people that really that's their church, and just look how rich the guy's become because of it. So I think churches, I think push some things that you would consider a variety of sins sometimes. Depends on what it is.
Tony on the Guns and Gear text line. I don't care if people are gay. Fine with me. Do what makes you happy. Just don't force or impose on me. Normal people don't have a flag and parades. You want to be equal, then be equal. I know what he's getting at there. We don't have to have gay parades and all this stuff. I mean, look, great example of that is like you don't have to have a pride parade. Have a St. Patty's parade. Invite everybody. And I know they love to say everybody is invited, but let's be honest, everybody ain't invited.
I'm glad you brought that up. I have a couple good friends that are gay that have said that themselves many times.
Yeah.
They said that like these parades are making us look ridiculous. Like you're just like you're hurting us as a people.
Man,
like
you're all a bunch of over-sexualized perverts.
Yeah, that's what they say. They drives them crazy that there's these parades that they feel like they're like, do they think we all wear leather and just dance around? It's like that's like
they do.
I mean that's what it's like. Yeah, that's what they're making you think. He's like, no, I got a job. Like I'm not doing that. I've got a mortgage. I'm not wearing leather and just dancing around.
Well, I mean, I know some old school conservatives kind of, choke when I say it, but like just traditional homosexuals, people who are just gay, like I'm just straight, it's not my identity, it's not who I am, it's what I am.
Yeah, the normal, the gay dude Bob that goes to the bar and he works, he wears a hard hat and goes to work. There's a lot of those guys, and I know many of them.
Absolutely,
that they're not, in a parade.
A lot of them are politicians in Mississippi.
there's that too. I'm sure. Oh God, we're gonna get calls now. That's it. This weekend.
Almost had a governor that was one. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Well, breaking rules when necessary, Sean. Do you think we broke every rule of conservative talk radio today?
Yeah, I think it was the religion, and then that last stuff was pretty.
I'll let y'all leave y'all's inquiring minds to figure out who we were talking about there, but I'll never say it ain't my business to. But I think if you're running for office and you're running as a Mississippi values, you should probably tell people your sexual preference. I think that's important. Yeah, be honest. Just be honest.
That's I think that's the whole point. Yeah, be honest about whatever you're doing. And I mean, this goes into other things. I mean, there's many politicians that are sitting there cheating on their wives that are talking about family values. I mean, how many of those we got?
I will gladly vote for a gay black Republican, but I'm not voting for any of those as a Democrat. See y'all Monday.
See ya.